All right, all right. We're back at our next podcast. I have a special guest, a friend of mine. I love his food, which we'll show today. But Joe Leone, when I moved into Point Pleasant, that was one of the first stores I ever noticed 13 years ago, or however long it's been when I was in Point. And a great guy, great businessman, great. He gives back to the community. He does more than anyone ever knows. So, Joe, thanks for coming on today.
Thank you, my man.
It's great to see you. I
Good to
haven't
see
seen
you
you in a
too.
little bit, but Joe and I also went to the World Series to watch the Yanks one year. We've had some exciting
Had some
times
good
over
times.
the years.
Brought you some lunch, and
I
the next
know.
thing you know, I'm
Yeah.
on a podcast.
Before, I love it. Listen, you bring lunch, and I'm interested. So,
That's not why I did it.
I know. So, talking about, let's get right into it. Talking about grit. You and John, tell the
man.
story.
I mean, we just my brother-in-law John, he was going out in college, and I wanted to break off and do my own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm 21 years old, I'm American born, and I just knew that there's a lot of opportunity that my grandparents didn't have, and because of that generation, even though they were the greatest generation, they were immigrants, and my grandmother and my grandfather were not immigrants on my mom's side. But my grandfather was in World War II. My mom's dad was in World War II. My grandmother was born in 1921. Depression, all those different things. They had a hard life, but then a lot of good life. So there's like that positive or whatever. And
Sure.
my grandmother and my grandfather on my dad's side were very, very humble, humble beginning, very poor beginning coming over to this country. My grandmother came here when she was 9, and my grandfather came here, I think he was like 20. And one thing, my grandfather taught me was work. And, and that was pretty, my grandfather was the type of guy, like, I'm not going to take you fishing. I'm not going to take you to a baseball game, this and that. I'm going to show you how to work. I'm going to show you how to do things with your hands. I'm going to show you how to work. And that's how I was raised, working. My grandfather always used to preach to me is like, he was proud of being from Italy, but he came here for the dream. He came here because he knew that there was money to be made over here and to prosper and I mean, just an amazing things that he's accomplished. Kids graduated from college, and my dad is a craftsman of all things. So what to say the opportunity that I had at 21, I was just like, let me go with it. I'm not married. I'm dating Jen. I'm not, I don't really have I don't have any kids yet. I don't have nothing going on. And my in-laws were great. I moved down in the basement with John.
Because we're roommates.
And John was going to college, and I said, hey, John, you want to come in with me over here and do this? We'll make some bread and mozzarella, and, we'll just take a shot, And I mean, like the first day, it was like, John's like, we have no money to pay people. How are we going to pay these people? And it's just like, you just got to put your head down and work and do, like you said, the grit. And one of the things where, not to make myself sound like an old man, it's very concerning. The work ethic today is very, very concerning.
Very different.
And I just don't understand where we're missing in developing a young American, regardless of who you are, where you come from, whatever race, whatever denomination, whatever it is. There seems to be something kind of lost about doing the formation of life of, like, you're born in America. Like, this country, you can be broke, you can be a millionaire, and you can multiply your millionaire, you can lose it, but the opportunity is equal for everybody. It's an equal opportunity country. And I've been very, very blessed to have that and to experience that with my brother-in-law, John. So, we just, a lot of times people say, like, I go to these entrepreneur groups at colleges and stuff like that. And, they'll see the car that I drive, or they'll see like a nice shirt on me or something like that. And they'll be like, well, how do I make money? And the focus is, how do I make money? How do I get as much as you do? And it's like, you got to work.
You missed the point there. You got to work first. Work.
Well, you got to work until you can't work anymore, until you can't stand. Go to sleep, wake up, and work harder than you did the day before.
Sure.
It's not really a hard concept, but sometimes things make it hard, right? So, like, put your head down, work. In my industry, I really felt that we had to give the service to no end, whatever the customer wanted. And sometimes I'm a little frustrated because we're 27 years into the business, and we tend to say no sometimes, that we can't do it with production, And, it's something like Christmas Eve coming up, and Christmas is a wonderful time, but we do like 3 months worth of business in like 4 days.
Yeah, sure.
And, sometimes we physically can't make something, but like when we started Joe Leone's, we would do anything. And sometimes I couldn't come through. Sometimes I disappointed people, but for the most part, we put our
Made it
heads down and
happen.
we made it happen. And we listened to customers. We listened to what they wanted. And the customer base, and I had said this on Lou's podcast, is that, the customer base told us what they wanted and we listened. And we didn't, like prime example, like, God bless my father-in-law. He was an incredible person, not in the food industry. He was an engineer. Talk about American dream success story. He's an amazing story. But I never forget that my meatballs were not selling. And for whatever reason, they just were not selling when I first and we did sausage and peppers and meatballs and mozzarella and all the Italian specialties, but the meatballs were not selling. People weren't liking the meatballs. So I'm complaining to him one day. He's like, "All right, let's get in the car." And he went to Squam Tavern, Graziano's. He brought me there. He brought me to where was it? Jimmy's in I guess it's Asbury. Jimmy's in Asbury. Vic's over here in Bradley Beach. And
Bradley,
we ordered the meatballs, and he was like, What do you say? They're hard. They have onion in them, and they're baked." And I would like fry the perfect round meatballs and sell that. And basically, he's like, "These are people who started, and look at what they do. Look at the places they were crowded." Now, this back in 1997. So what did I do? I didn't prefer those meatballs at that time, but this is how we make the meatballs now. And we make like 6,000 meatballs a week. So there's a lot to say, like, and that seems to be like when like, okay, you get the grit, like you said, and you go in there and you work hard. The thing about what happens, and a lot of times people, and I could fail tomorrow. I mean, like, no, there's no guarantees in life, but when you don't listen to the customer, or you're too headstrong about better and what you like, it's about what the customer likes.
Absolutely.
And we always went with that motto of customer first. The wants of customers come first. And it's hard. Like I see it, and I'm not complaining about my team. I mean, I got very, very blessed to have great team members, back of the house, front of the house, transfer, office, catering, sales. But like, so like I have a young manager, and we have an individual that comes in and he goes, "Hey, I want," every Sunday comes in, he orders turkey and cheese, same amount, and he wants a rye bread. And we always sell out by 11 o'clock. He comes in between 12 and 1. And the mindset of trying to teach that is grab a rye bread, put his name on it, put it on a shelf. He's coming at 12, 1 o'clock, have his turkey waiting for him, and have his cheese.
That's a great customer
But
experience.
that concept sometimes with the newer generation, it's hard to explain that to them because they're not. And it's interesting because they're very raised, and I say this, I have children in that generation. They're raised for instant gratification, but giving instant gratification isn't important. They get instant gratification,
sure.
but they're not giving instant gratification. So I have to try to do that. So those are like the hurdles of
Sure.
changing times. And then like, the changing times of, we've been through a whole generation at Joe Leone's, even though it was 27 years, where when I started working, I was 21 years old. I had people 40, 45, 50 years old. I'm telling them what to do.
Working for you.
So what I used to get was, you're a kid, you don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, whatever. Yeah. But they would do it,
Yep.
right? Because they had that work ethic from the time of you show up, you do what the boss says. They were a little more challenging because of my age. And
different struggles.
Different struggles. Now they argue differently of, well, I didn't know that was my job. I didn't know I had to do that. That's not my job description. Hey, listen, I want to put you here because you're better at this. They don't agree with you, but we're the one, the customer and the needs of the customers are paying you. So it's pretty interesting. It's interesting going into year 27, and seeing what goes on. And you know, where John, my brother-in-law, he's just a total workaholic. He's very keyed in. He's always working every time, everything in his life. I mean, like even now in 27 years, he's working harder than I am because you know. Not saying John doesn't delegate, he does, but John is just like he's just likes to hammer away and chisel and grind and grind. That's the way he gets.
Yeah, that's how he's built.
Where with me, I want to see other people successful and not, you know, a lot of times when you walk away from a business, that your business can fail if you're not careful of who's doing it,
Who's
right?
running the show.
But you keep your thumb on it and you try to let other people experience. And I remember I was that individual. Like I had to make the pasta bazzol. I had to roll every meatball. I had to make every loaf of bread. And then what happens? I'm saying, well, I am not gonna be successful if I can't get all those things done. So I better make other people successful or bring other people in, and you know.
Delegation's a hard task for entrepreneurs,
Very.
especially. And again, when you started out with 5 guys at the first Joe Leone's in 1997 to today, it's a whole different world.
Totally different ball game.
I always say I have to, my job changes every 3 to 6 months based on the needs of the business, based on the customers, based on tech. In my world, it's technology. In your world, it's new recipes and trying different things. But I think that's key to success.
And we've seen the taste of people change.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you know, we're in the Christmas season. We would sell tons of bacala. Then that stopped where people, the old ladies, the Italian ladies would not come in. And bacala, for those of you who don't know, is salted codfish, and you soak it, and then you.
It's
you
not
like
for
it.
me.
You don't like it.
No.
Right, but then you soak it, you bake it, and then you make like a salad out of it. And then we started making salad, so we started seeing a switch to it, where more salad is selling to the bacala. Now we're selling less bacala, and we're trying to get it in the mouth of the younger generations to kind of remember what it tastes like.
Yep.
Right? So like we're feeding different people, and people have gotten a lot smarter with food. You know, they want to know what's in it, how's it made, is it organic, is it not organic, what kind of oils. I mean, you know, back in the day, you had people come in and be like, they didn't care. They're like, you fried that in lard? Okay, give it to me. Like,
give me 3 of them.
Give me 3 of those. You know what I'm saying? Oh, that lard bread, I want to eat a loaf of lard bread a day. You know, like, but it's been a great run, and I'm happy to continue to do it with my brother-in-law. I call him my brother Johnny, and it's been a great taste.
It's been a great run for you guys. And now let's just tell the people, like, you have 3 locations now. See, what was first? Point
Pleasant Beach was
small
started out
store.
of a 2,500 square foot facility. Our focus was bread. Then everything launched off of that from what customers were telling what they wanted. And then year 15 to the date, Joe Longo and Paul Barlow from Avatar, they and that's not a plug. They did a great job. I'm not saying that because I know they come
and they're
on
wingman
here.
customers.
They're wingman customers. Yeah, I'll tell you, they're great. Like Joe Longo's the best, but they built our building.
Yep, that building. I remember when when the fence was up and they just started the construction. That's right when I met Paul. I had known you, but that's right when I had met Paul and Joe when you took over that property on that corner.
Right, and then we bought the bakery from the legendary Hoffman's Donuts.
Okay.
We would do our baking because we grew out of that 2,500 square store. We couldn't get enough customers in there and product in there, and we really grew out of it. And the parking was crazy, but people came, and we got through some crazy, great times there.
That must have made you feel good, though, knowing that your parking lot was too small and knowing you had to hire the police officers around the holidays just because people wanted
my brother-in-law never. I'm very emotional. John's very a stable mind. He listens instead of talks, and he takes in what's being said and how things are. He's a lot like my father-in-law was. And me, I'm like, wear it on the sleeve, my emotions, right? So one day, I'll never forget this. It was probably like 5-6 years in. We were going crazy. We couldn't get orders out. I'm cursing and running around and this, that, and the other. And he's just,
even.
He grabs me, puts me in the car, drives me across the street in the car, puts the car in park and go, look what we built, Joe. What are you getting excited for? We just got to keep plugging away. And there's nothing like that feeling. There's really nothing. Um, there's nothing like that feeling of accomplishment, and it becomes more than the money that you make in the till every day. It's not about the. I mean, listen, money is great. Money is sometimes. I have different perspectives about money. Money shows the best of someone or the worst of someone.
Fair.
So I never really been money focused, but I've been able to provide, keep my wife at home, take care of the children, and my wife's starting to work now that my little one's 10 years old. So she's, and it's good to see her, like feel at the end of the day, like, oh, I did this today, and
Just to clarify, where she's working is Joe Leone's, correct?
yes.
Okay,
So
good.
this is a stepping stone for her.
All right, good.
Right? Because listen, she still has a 10-year-old, the 11-year-old, the 13-year-old, and
Italian twins. Italian triplets instead
Italian
of
triplets,
instead,
yeah.
instead of Irish twins.
Luciano's 13. Antonina is 11. She's gonna be 12 in February, and Maria just turned 10 in September.
Great.
And then we have the two bigger ones, Joey and Bella.
Yep.
But it's been a great run, but I'm happy to see my wife's getting in there and going, and it's nice to have her there. But seeing that fire, sometimes you don't have that fire in your belly.
Yeah.
I was at Swan Tavern the other day, and I came out, and there was a place called Good Karma. It was across the street in Manasquan, and this girl's 22 years old, and she's like, I just opened my business, and you see that fire and that interest, and I want to do good. It like gives you hope that there are more of her.
Yeah. You have to find them, though. I think that
They're there.
They are there. I was at a Chamber of Commerce event a couple nights ago, and like there's a young group of guys that are in their late 20s, early 30s that are interested and they're ready to go. I have a couple guys that have either been on the podcast or want to get on the podcast that text me that are in their late 20s and early 30s, and I love to see the hustle, and I want to back those guys. I want them to be successful.
Yeah.
I want to see these. Again, we're in our 40s.
If we're successful, and younger people are successful, the country becomes successful.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the whole that's the whole thing. What was really interesting in 2000, and I think when was Sandy? 12.
Yep.
So we opened up June 2nd, 2012.
Okay. The big store.
The big store. That was on our 15th anniversary. My number was number 2 when I played football. I do everything in twos.
Okay.
So I opened up on June 2nd, 1997 at 2:00. We opened up.
You missed lunch that day.
Huh?
You missed the lunch crowd that day.
I didn't miss lunch. A lot of it.
Well
But then
played.
and then we have the store that was June 2nd, 2012.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden we sit there. Sandy comes through, and man, was that like whoa. Yeah. But you have good people around you that are willing to help, and we were able to help the community, and that worked great. And then we have COVID.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. But what I thought, I was very, very impressed was with my team, my 2 operations directors, my brother-in-law John, a lot of other people developed a store that you don't even have to come into Joe Leone's, and we will personally shop for you. I mean, it's not a crazy hard concept, but we would bring it out to the car, and we were able to get through that time without laying anyone off.
Yep. You filled my car a couple times during
Did I?
that. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
But so it worked good, and you kind of reinvent yourself and do different things through the times. But yeah, man, like especially that time when I think about it, like you have my daughter Bella that was a COVID senior. A kid 17 years old is looking at things saying, "What the heck's going on? All these restaurants, these bars are closed, and what's going to happen to Joe Leone's?" And she had interest at the time of Joe Leone's, and she's like, "Dad, listen," I said, Belle, I go, don't ever feel bad for me if I ever lose everything, and I never want to. I mean, who wants to go through that nightmare? But if I ever lose everything, don't ever feel bad because I was able to bite the American dream.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's a great way to look at it, though. That's a great perspective. You started from nothing. You built a great business, and you're going to continue to grow this great business. But
I can't say I started from nothing. My father-in-law, God rest his soul, saw something in me. And I sometimes still ask myself how. I mean, wow, you trust me with money that you backed, and then you trust me with your daughter, which I have a lot of respect for that man.
Yeah.
And I'm very grateful for that trust he had in me. But he saw something in me, so he was the one that put the bird
Wanted to see it
and
grow.
pushed it
Yep.
and grown. And here was a guy that came from very little means. His father was a police officer. His mom was a stay-at-home mom, and he's from Newark or Belleville. And he raised his family and put all his kids through college and things like that. And it just was like how he took his success instead of greed and saying, all right, I did it, I made it. And I think my father-in-law was like 58 or 60, took a chunk of his money and put it into me and backed me into it. And I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful that they also, not only that they gave me, and not gave me, I know that's kind of where they allowed me to marry their daughter.
Mm-hmm.
They also gave me opportunity of a son that I'm able to operate the business with. So I have a lot of blessings from that.
Yep.
So I always say, like, a lot of times people say, oh, you started at nothing. Yes and no.
Yep.
I had something. I had a family backing.
And someone believe in you, and that
I had my
that in of itself
was
is a big deal.
that
But
was big.
when you think about it, a lot of guys either don't take the chance or potentially fail because they don't have someone that believes in them. And
Exactly. And
you knew you had to
I had it.
step up to the
I have a
challenge.
supportive mom. My mother was very supportive of me. She couldn't be supportive financially, but for me as a cheerleader, yes.
Yep.
And then I have a father that was very skeptical. Like, are you sure? Because my dad was unfamiliar with that, but my dad was there painting and making sure things were looking good, and he did his thing,
Yep.
and he's working with me now, and. So you kind of look back. So I've always did have really great support.
Yep.
I don't have parents that look from the bleachers. They're in the game with me.
They're in the
and
trenches.
That's including my in-laws. I mean, I remember my mother-in-law working the seafood festival, and just the things that they do. It's
Yep.
just
You
and
got everybody
you learn
out
through
there.
life, man. It's good stuff.
So you opened in the last year. You opened the Manasquan store. So
Yeah.
how did that come about?
So what was really interesting was that's a Center Food Market, and actually I believe Center Food Market started in 1921.
Wow.
They opened up, I think, in the 70s or something. They took over the business called Center Food Market and moved it into that building that it's currently in. And I was there at a snowstorm, and it was kind of dead. And I was there having soup, and I was fooling around with Howard, and Linda and Howard are great to work with. But I never did business or anything other than buy food and sandwiches from them and stuff like that. And he's like, when I'm ready, we're gonna know when we're ready, because I just loved the market. I wanted to see the opportunity of, like, so at Joe Leone's, it was on a corner where you get in your car and you actually get in your car, park your car, and go into Joe Leone's. And from what I know of Manasquan, because I live in Brielle, we looked at it, John and I looked at it and say, wow, look at the people that are walking around town. Look at the people that are on their bikes. Look at it, what type of demographic we have,
Mm-hmm.
not like on income, because Manasquan and Point Pleasant Beach is probably around the same income range in that demographic. What happens if you put it in a downtown? And wow, I mean, it's been rolling pretty good. We designed a nice store. It looks really it looks really well. We kept the old worldness, but how easy is the jump start that you have is like, oh, did you go to Joe Leone's in Manasquan? No, where is it? Oh, the old Center Food Market. Oh yeah, it's already there in that word of mouth.
Yep.
Of.
And you see people just walking around downtown. Last week, I was in downtown Manasquan. It's December, and it was
Christmas shopping. A lot.
People
I'll tell you,
there.
you want to talk about good Chamber of Commerce. Are you belong to Chamber of
I'm
Commerce?
not in the Manasquan. I'm in the Brick Chamber and the Jersey Shore Chamber.
The Jersey Shore
Yeah.
Chamber. That pretty much covers everything.
Yeah.
The Jersey Shore one. But I'll tell you, what a great Chamber of Commerce. I mean, we have a good Chamber of Commerce in the beach. It's a little different because we're spread out.
Yeah.
But the business district of Manasquan.
Yeah, it's great, that downtown.
It's great, and basically all those businesses are down there,
Yep.
and it's all down Main Street, even if it's over in the bridge. but there's so many different diverse businesses in Point Pleasant, so it's kind of like a different type.
Yep.
But their Chamber of Commerce is awesome.
That's
They
great.
do a great job. They're very supportive. They do all kinds of things. They shut down the street. They do a lot of stuff, candy cane hunt, and seeing the football team and the band come down on the street, and it's hometown USA.
Yep. I love this year it didn't happen, but when the surf team from Manasquan High School wins
they do the sirens.
They do the sirens, but they also have my trolley company driving trolleys with the kids on them, which is
Oh
awesome.
yeah,
So
I mean I love that. That's really great. I
sums
remember
it
when
up,
my
like-
nephew Evan back in 2016. I can't believe it's been that long ago. They won a state championship, Manasquan. But in 2016, they were riding the bus and then beeping the horns
Yep.
and going through the town. It made me feel really
Yeah,
good.
it's
it
a
made
fun
me feel
night,
about,
yeah.
I felt something good.
They
I remember
do
when I
great
met
things.
Jen, I went to the bonfire and the parade and stuff like that, and I go back and I tell my mom and my dad, I'm like, I pretty much live in hometown USA. I think I'm going to be spending the rest of my life there.
So what happened? You're a Hoboken guy. How'd you end up on the Jersey Shore?
Technically, not Hoboken. My family's roots are in Hoboken, and I grew up half of my life up in Hudson County, and then I moved to Brick.
Okay.
My mom and my dad are divorced,
Okay.
and I moved kind of like around. We kind of moved like gypsies and stuff like that. We lived all the way down in Tuckerton.
Oh,
wow! I
wow.
went my high school. I went to high school down in Pinelands Regional High School.
Okay.
But my grandmother had a summer house in Point Pleasant Beach. And my dad lived in Lincroft, and his neighbor had a friend that owned this place, Giovanni's in Little Silver, John Icono. He showed me a lot about making bread, about making mozzarella, and his sister Annette cooking, and that was my first taste of that, and that's while I was going to culinary school.
Okay.
And then he moved down to Brielle and opened a place called John Anthony's, and then I met my wife that was in the pharmacy business.
Okay.
So.
And
But
then-
my mother's born and raised in Secaucus.
Yep.
My dad's from Hoboken, and then he moved up to Union City. So that's where I get my city in me.
Perfect. So after college, you never went back there, and you came right to the shore.
Yeah, I don't know. Is culinary school college?
Culinary school is a college, I guess. You hung out for a couple of years learning some new recipes.
Yeah. But
And
I always like to say I went to the school of What's the Matter for You University. So or what's happening now, you?
Yeah.
But no, I was blessed to be able to go to culinary school.
That's great.
I don't really promote culinary schools that much anymore because I'm kind of disappointed on the path that they have gone. I mean, I got a great education, and there's kids that come in that have natural talent and stuff like that. But you can hire someone. I like to hire people that have very, very little skill. But if you have that work ethic and that want,
Work ethic can beat all.
work ethic and want and heart
Yeah.
can beat all. And I could take people that never even had a knife in their hand and teach them how to cook, as long as they're willing to work and be there on time.
Yep.
Yeah.
What's next in store? Is there going to be a fourth location?
Nah.
Three's-
I mean,
three's the
our
lucky
Seeger
number.
location is kind of like on the rails right now. It's like the train that could, and then we're constantly looking: do we keep it? Do we not? The whole thing. So we're always there, and basically, my brother-in-law John is kind of making those decisions on, because he's the numbers
He's
guy.
the numbers
He's always
guy.
doing the numbers, and he does so much more than the numbers. But he's the one that's always watching that scope of things. I love Manasquan. I love Joe Egan being next to him. It's a good little store doing grab and go. It was pretty interesting. We
Yep.
got through COVID and all that other stuff. But I think that Manasquan and Seeger might be a little bit too close, for people to go. But we'll see what happens
Yep.
there. I mean, one of the things I would love to try to do is maybe do like grab and go, like that Seeger concept throughout the Jersey Shore. But I got to figure out how I can produce the food to keep the quality level at what it is and give good value.
Yep. And quality is one of your biggest things.
Quality first.
Quality over
Quality, and if it's not available, we don't make it. We
Yep.
don't try to push it. If broccoli rabe is bad and it's yellow, we don't make it. The deal is quality and value. If you give good quality, good value, good service, perfect recipe for success. When you try to take advantage, even though that you're giving the best quality, but sometimes people take away from the quality, and then now they start raising their prices because they get greedy. And and then what happens is they're not giving good value when at the end of the customer sitting there say, that's a good sandwich. It's, oh my God, I paid $24 for that sandwich. I paid $36 for that sandwich, and it's like, really, really thin. No, So I always try to, the people who are selling the product is give a good value,
Mm-hmm.
and John, again, numbers and making sure that we're buying things right and pricing things right. It's great for the success of that, you know.
Sure.
But quality is everything, and I
Quality.
like to keep my hands on everything. Like I
Yeah.
like to go out and see where the cows are eating the grass for our curd, and to make fresh mozzarella. You know, I like to know where our roast beefs are coming, and you know, we have a guy by the name of Steve. He's awesome. He's doing sous vide, and we're doing sous vide turkeys and turkeys and roast beefs and things like that in a band, and we just always look to make that quality the best we possibly can,
That's great.
using Yukon Gold potatoes in the potato croquettes, not using Idaho. Idaho has good purpose for potato salad and whatnot, but a potato croquette is nice. You get that nice starch and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So all those things that we like to do is dissect those things.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
That's great, though. I mean, and again, I think that helps make that brand of Joe Leone's Joe Leone's.
Yeah. Yeah.
One last thing I
Thank
want to
you.
hit you with before we sign off is, um, I know it, but the family. So tell us about family and
Oh.
what that means to you.
Well, family is just a reminder of a selfless message. And I'm an ambassador for One Strong Family, that I go around the football teams, basketball teams, wrestling, um, jails, hair salons, police departments, fire departments. Maybe your staff, I'll do it with your staff, identifying selfless behavior and selfish behavior. You know, we know it's wrong to be selfish and not the right way to be that type of person, and it kind of gets in a way because we are all selfish in our own way. I mean, I have selfish moments, of course. I'm not perfect, you're not perfect, but if you kind of trick the mind a little bit, not trick the mind, but put into the mind and get to from the mind to the heart of just being a good person.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't have to be like, oh, he's so selfless or she's so selfless, they give thousands of dollars. No, opening the door. How are you? Saying good morning to somebody, you know, being happy, you know, trying to, and I believe me, I have that Italian miserable look sometimes on my face. But I try to come out and try to just to do good, put others before self.
Mm-hmm.
So it stands for forget about me, I love you. To say forget about me, I love you. And you know, sometimes people get scared with the word love, but it's not. Love is a great word. Love is kind. Love is, you know, sometimes confusing, but love is just a kind message to say, hey, I love you, man.
Mm-hmm.
I love you. Take care. You know, and it's a different type and different. You know, you say to your wife you love different, or your kids you love different, but in a way, is everybody loves something or to do something, and you put that as a higher thing in your life,
Mm-hmm.
and you express yourself through that way.
I love it. I think that's great. I'm that guy that talks to everybody at the grocery store. I always say,
Oh,
"Hey,
yeah.
how are you? Good morning. How's that? How's your day going?"
Yeah.
And hold the door. But I think that when you go back to even just how people act, if more people did that,
Oh.
that
I mean, we live in such a selfish world. I mean, it's just it's really hard to see when you're trying to promote something or you're trying to live a selfless life, of seeing how people's patience are less, and the self gratification, and you know, like even like with COVID. I mean, everything that everybody lost, all the things that we had at our fingertips as Americans, was like shut down.
hmm
It like got people madder. You know, it's sad, and you know, we gotta try to, you know,
got to get back to the old
we got to
days.
fight that through. You know, we got to punch it through the wall and say, hey, listen, you know, life isn't that bad. You know, somebody always has something worse going on than you. But even though with you key on what you're doing wrong. You know what I mean, and or what's going wrong in your life. So that's the family gist of it.
Yep.
You know, I do seminars, like I said, and the money that we raise for that, what we charge for that, goes to homeless. Mike Manhart, our founder, he feeds homeless people every single day.
Wow, that's great.
And we're a 501c3, and I volunteer to do it. So, like, if someone pays me to go to their organization, that money goes right to the fund.
Which is awesome. That's great that you can give back like that.
Oh, it's great that I have the opportunity to have good team members that will be taking care of business in the store
Yeah,
while
sure.
I'm spreading the word of something of a selfless message or a mantra. Even if I change one person in a group of 5,000
It's a
or
win.
10 people, it's a win. You're just doing our job and doing what I'm mentored to be, and that's Mike Manhart in that realm of his life, about being a selfless human being.
Very cool. Let people know where they can find you online.
Okay. We're very simple, joeleones.com.
And you have Facebook,
We have
Instagram,
Facebook, Instagram.
TikTok?
No TikTok.
Not yet? Nah.
I don't know. I don't know that much about TikTok. I always hear different things. It's ruining our country. It's ruining this. It's doing that. It's da-da-da.
I think people would like to see your food on it, though.
Maybe. Maybe I got to talk to Mike Began. Mike Began does an awesome job for us with our marketing. He's always coming up with new creative, different ideas on our Facebook and Twitter and
Good.
all that stuff. I'm lucky if I can turn on a computer. To tell you the truth.
I remember that time you went back to the dumb phone instead of the smartphones.
Yes.
Where are you on the phone?
Still have a flip.
You still have the flip.
Flip. Hello. Goodbye.
Hello, goodbye. No videos, no pictures, no anything. Back to staying at the flip phone.
We got a camera.
Oh, look at
Regular
you.
camera. Just, hey, listen. I
1950s called, said, "Hey, Joe, what's going on?"
1950. But the thing is, honestly, I look at people like they always have their face on a phone.
I know.
And you're missing out of this great world that God brought.
Fair.
And seeing the sky, your eyes are always in there, but it's so addictive, and it's actually getting extremely hard not to have one, a smartphone.
Yeah.
And you know who was smart? Steve and Jobs. They were smart. They named it because it's me. iPhone, iPad. I have this. It's mine. And where's my phone? And people get very possessive about it. My kids are addicted to it. I turn around looking at people in here. They're on their phones while they're working. But
That's a work. That's a work text.
That's a work text. Yeah, okay.
She's the.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
Who's that to?
Tony for cleansing concepts.
All right, fair.
All right, see, okay. I don't want to get you in trouble, but
you passed the test today.
I mean, like it's, and you even see that with work ethic. I mean,
sure.
you don't get a lot of things done because people are constantly
Checking their phone,
and it's crazy,
I'm with
But
you.
it is what it is. I love to say hello and goodbye, hello and goodbye.
Well, Joe, it was great to have you. I'm glad that you stopped
like
in
that?
with
Hello,
lunch.
goodbye.
Hello and goodbye.
Hi, Tom. Bye, Tom. Leave me a message.
There you go. And maybe we'll return this call. This was great. I'm glad that we got to see each other today. I'm glad you brought lunch. For anybody who's listening and watching, we have a broccoli rabe bread,
Mozzarella.
which is absolutely delicious. Joe's getting ready for holiday catering, so if you haven't put in your order, you should get it in before it's too late.
This guy, it's like turning into an advertisement.
Andrew,
Thank you.
my man Andrew, his family, when you went to freshen up before this started, told me that he's getting his meal from Joe Leone's.
Oh yeah, is that true? Yeah.
We had the prosciutto, chicken cutlet, tomato mousse, and glaze, which was delicious today. Thank you again. It's great to see you. Happy holidays, and I
Thank you.
look
Merry
forward to
Christmas,
doing more with you.
everybody. Reason for the season. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.